He thought she was just nobody, just another waitress in a cheap diner desperate for a tip. Alessandro Valenti, the most feared capo in New York, laughed in her face, dangling $100 bill like she was a pet. But he didn't expect her to lean in and whisper the one name that had been buried for 20 years. In that split second, the predator became the prey. Who is this girl, and how does she know the secrets that could destroy the entire Valenti empire? You are not ready for the twist in this story. Watch until the end. The rain in Seattle didn't wash things clean. It just made the grime slicker. Inside Sal's 24-hour eats, the fluorescent lights hummed with a headache-inducing buzz reflecting off the checkered linoleum floors that hadn't seen a proper scrubbing since the 90s. Mia Collins wiped the counter for the 10th time that hour. Her wrist ached. She was 24, but tonight she felt 50. The diner was mostly empty, save for a trucker asleep over his pie and a couple arguing in the back booth. Then the bell above the door didn't just jingle. It announced a change in atmospheric pressure. 3 men walked in. They didn't belong here. They belonged in penthouse suites in the back of armored SUVs, in places where the air smelled of expensive cologne and gun oil, not stale coffee and fryer grease. The man in the center was the gravitational pull. He was tall, wearing a charcoal suit that cost more than the diner's annual revenue. His hair was dark, swept back with precision, and his eyes were the color of cold espresso, dark, bitter, and alert. This was Alessandro Valenti. Mia didn't need to see a news report to know who he was. She felt the danger radiating off him like heat from a furnace. He was the heir to the Valenti crime family, the newly appointed Don of the West Coast operations. He slid into a booth near the window, his 2 guards taking up positions that blocked the exits without making it look obvious. Mia took a breath, smoothed her apron, and grabbed her notepad. Just a customer, she told herself. Just serve the coffee and survive the shift. She walked over, keeping her eyes low, but her posture stiff. Coffee. Alessandro looked up. He didn't smile. He examined her like one might examine a scratch on a Ferrari, a minor annoyance. He noted the frayed hem of her uniform, the tired circles under her eyes, and the cheap name tag that was crooked. 3 coffees, black, and make sure the pot isn't from yesterday. Alessandro said, his voice a smooth baritone that carried a natural command. Fresh pot is brewing. Give me 2 minutes, Mia replied, her voice steady. One of the guards, a brute named Rocco, snickered. She talks back, boss. Alessandro smirked, a cruel, teasing tilt of his lips. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a money clip. He peeled off a fresh, crisp $100 bill and laid it on the sticky table. Then he peeled off another. And another. I'm sure you can make the coffee brew faster if you try, Alessandro drawled, tapping a manicured finger on the stack of cash. That's probably more than you make in a week, isn't it, sweetheart? Dance a little for us? Smile. Maybe I'll tip you enough to fix whatever is happening with your hair. It was a power move, a humiliation tactic he had likely used 1,000 times on people he considered beneath him. He expected her to scramble, to fawn, to blush and grab the money with trembling hands. Mia stared at the money. Then she looked at Alessandro. She didn't blush. The temperature in her eyes dropped to absolute 0. I'm a waitress, Mr. Valenti, Mia said, her voice dropping an octave, losing its customer service sweetness. Not a court jester. And my hair is fine. The silence at the table was deafening. Rocco's jaw dropped. Alessandro's smirk vanished, replaced by a look of genuine confusion, followed quickly by irritation. You know my name, Alessandro said softly. It wasn't a question. Everyone knows your name. Mia lied. She turned on her heel. Coffee in 2 minutes. She walked away, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. She shouldn't have provoked him. She should have taken the abuse, taken the money, and gone home. But she was tired. She was so tired of running and seeing him sitting there so arrogant, so alive, while her father was rotting in a grave in New Jersey. It snapped something inside her. She returned with the pot. She poured the coffee with a steady hand, despite the 3 pairs of eyes burning holes into her. When she finished pouring Alessandro's cup, he reached out and grabbed her wrist. His grip was like iron, but his touch wasn't violent yet. It was possessive. You have a sharp tongue, Alessandro murmured, staring into her eyes, searching for fear. I don't like sharp things. They tend to cut. Then don't touch them, Mia whispered. Alessandro chuckled darkly. I think you want the money. You're just playing hard to get. Tell you what. Tell me something interesting and I'll leave the tip. Tell me something boring and Rocco here throws you out the window. It was a game to him. A cruel game. Mia looked down at him. She saw the confidence of a man who had never faced consequences. Something interesting, she asked. Surprise me. Mia leaned down. She brought her lips close to his ear, invading his personal space in a way no one ever dared. She smelled of vanilla and old paper. Ask your father what happened to the Vittoria Ledger in 1998. She whispered, her voice barely audible. And ask him why he didn't check the trunk of the blue sedan before he crushed it. She pulled back. The color drained from Alessandro Valenti's face so fast it looked like he'd been shot. His pupils dilated. The arrogance evaporated, replaced by a raw, primal shock. The Vittoria Ledger. The blue sedan. Those weren't public knowledge. Those were the darkest, bloodiest secrets of the Valenti family secrets that only 3 people knew. And 2 of them were dead. Who are you? Alessandro rasped, his voice trembling with a mix of rage and terror. Mia dropped the check on the table. Refill is free. Advice costs extra. Alessandro didn't drink his coffee. He watched the waitress Mia retreat behind the counter. His mind was racing, crashing through memories and family legends he had been told to never speak of. The Vittoria Ledger contained the proof of the Valenti family's involvement in rigging the mayoral elections in the late 90s, along with the hit order on a federal judge. It was supposed to have been destroyed. His father, the old Don, swore it was ashes. And the blue sedan. That was where they had supposedly hidden the body of the accountant who stole it. If this girl knew about the sedan, she knew where the bodies were buried. Literally. Boss, Rocco asked, his hand drifting toward his jacket where his piece was holstered. She disrespect you. You want me to handle it. Don't move. Alessandro snapped his eyes, never leaving Mia. She was scrubbing a plate now, acting as if she hadn't just dropped a tactical nuke on his table. Nobody touches her. If she dies, the information dies with her. Or worse, it gets released. Alessandro stood up. Clear the diner. Boss. I said, clear the damn room. Alessandro roared, slamming his hand on the table. Rocco and the other guard, Dante, sprang into action. They approached the trucker and the arguing couple. Flashing guns and badges that didn't exist, they ushered the terrified civilians out into the rain. Mia didn't look up. She kept scrubbing. When the door locked and the blinds were drawn, Alessandro walked to the counter. The atmosphere was heavy, suffocating. Turn around, he commanded. Mia set the plate down slowly. She turned. She leaned her hip against the stainless steel counter, crossing her arms. She looked small against the industrial kitchen backdrop, but her eyes held a fierlo that unsettled him. "You cleared out my paying customers," Mia said. "That comes out of my paycheck. I could buy this building and burn it down for kindling," Alessandro growled, leaning over the counter, invading her space. "Stop the games. Who sent you the Russos?" "The FBI. Nobody sent me," Mia said. "I'm just a waitress." "Bullshit." Alessandro swiped a rack of glasses off the counter. They shattered on the floor, a cacophony of breaking glass that made Mia flinch just barely. "Waitresses don't know about the Vittoria ledger. That name hasn't been spoken in 20 years. "Maybe you hang out in the wrong circles," Mia retorted. Alessandro stared at her. He needed to be smart. Violence was the blunt tool. He needed a scalpel. He took a deep breath, adjusting his cuffs, regaining his composure. The predator was back in control. "You know," he said, his voice dropping to a silky, dangerous purr. "People who know things about my family. They tend to have short life expectancies. Accidents happen. Cars lose brakes. Gas leaks." "Is that a threat, Mr. Valenti?" "It's a forecast." Mia let out a short, dry laugh. "You think I'm afraid of dying?" "You have no idea what I've been through. But you have everything to lose. Your empire is built on a foundation of sand, and I know exactly where to kick to make it all come down." Alessandro studied her face. He was looking for a specific feature, a resemblance. She had green eyes, striking vivid green. Where had he seen those eyes before? "What do you want?" Alessandro asked. "Money. We have plenty. I can write you a check right now that will let you retire to Fiji." "I don't want your blood money." Mia spat, her composure cracking for a second, revealing a deep, festering wound of hatred. "Then what? I want justice," she whispered. Alessandro laughed. It was a harsh sound. "Justice in this city, you're delusional. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just patient." Mia reached under the counter. Instantly, Rocco and Dante had their guns drawn, aimed at her chest. "Easy," Mia said, freezing. "I'm getting a cigarette." She slowly pulled out a pack of cheap menthols and a lighter. She lit one, blowing the smoke toward the ceiling fan. "You have 24 hours, Mia said calmly. "For what?" "To conversation," she said. "Go to the police. Turn over your father. Admit to what happened to Arthur Collins." Alessandro froze again. Arthur Collins, the accountant, the man who stole the ledger, the man in the blue sedan. He looked at Mia, really looked at her, the shape of her jaw, the nose, and those green eyes. "Collins," Alessandro muttered. "You're his daughter. You're the little girl. The one who ran away." Mia didn't answer. Her silence was confirmation enough. "My father looked for you for 10 years, Alessandro said, a strange mix of awe and horror in his voice. "He thought you died in the foster system." "He wished I died," Mia corrected. "But I survived. I waited. I watched. And now I'm serving you coffee." Alessandro realized the gravity of the situation. This wasn't a random leak. This was a vendetta. A 20-year-old vendetta orchestrated by a girl who had nothing left to lose. He couldn't kill her. If she had set this up, she had a dead man's switch. If she didn't check in with someone, the information would leak. "You think you can blackmail the Valenti family?" Alessandro asked, stepping around the counter. He moved slowly like a wolf circling a trap. "I'm not blackmailing you. I'm giving you a chance to clear your soul," Mia said, though her hand trembled slightly as he got closer. He stopped inches from her. He could smell the fear coming off her now, mixed with the vanilla. She was terrified, but she was standing her ground. He admired that. He hated it, but he admired it. "My soul is already owned, Cara," Alessandro whispered. "But yours is still up for grabs." He reached out and took the cigarette from her lips, tossing it into the sink. "Grab her," Alessandro ordered. "What?" Mia's eyes widened. "If you touch me, the email goes out. The press, the feds, they get everything." "I'm counting on it," Alessandro said grimly. "But I can't let you walk out of here. You're coming with me." "No." Mia reached for a knife on the magnetic strip, but Alessandro was faster. He pinned her wrists against the counter, his body pressing hers into the cold steel. The contact sent a jolt of electricity through both of them. It wasn't just violence, it was chemistry, volatile, toxic chemistry. "Let me go," she screamed. "Not a chance," Alessandro growled. "Rocco, bring the car around to the back. We're taking a little trip." "Where?" Dante asked. Alessandro looked down at Mia, his eyes burning into hers. "To the safe house. If she knows about the sedan, she knows where the bodies are. I need to know what else is in that pretty little head of hers before I decide whether to kiss her or kill her." The ride was silent and swift. Mia sat in the back of the armored SUV, sandwiched between Alessandro and the locked door. Her hands weren't bound. Alessandro didn't want to draw attention, but the threat was implicit. She watched the city blur by. The neon lights of downtown faded, replaced by the dark, winding roads leading up to the cliffs. The safe house. She knew about it from her father's notes, but she had never seen it. "You're making a mistake," Mia said, staring out the window. "My contact expects a call by midnight. It's 10:00 p.m. Alessandro checked his watch, a diamond-encrusted Patek Philippe. "We have 2 hours to negotiate." "There is no negotiation. There is always a negotiation," Alessandro replied smoothly. He turned to look at her. In the dim light of the passing street lamps, her profile was sharp, beautiful, and tragic. "Why didn't you just go to the police? Why come to me? Why the dramatics in the diner?" Mia turned to him. "Because the police are on your payroll, Alessandro. We both know that. Captain Miller, Judge Henderson. They all eat from your hand." Alessandro conceded the point with a slight nod. "True. So you came to the devil to ask for salvation." "I came to see if the son was as rotten as the father," she said quietly. The car slowed, turning through a massive iron gate. The safe house was a fortress disguised as a modern mansion. Concrete walls, bulletproof glass, and armed guards patrolling the perimeter with Rottweilers. They pulled into the underground garage. Rocco opened the door. "Upstairs. The library," Alessandro ordered. "And get us something to drink. Scotch. The good stuff." Mia was ushered into a room that smelled of old leather and cigar smoke. It was masculine, imposing, and terrifyingly silent. Alessandro locked the heavy oak door behind them. "Sit." He gestured to a velvet armchair. Mia remained standing. "I prefer to stand." Alessandro sighed, taking off his jacket and tossing it onto a sofa. He rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle and a faint scar running down his left wrist. "Suit yourself." He walked to a drink cart, pouring 2 glasses of amber liquid. He held one out to her. "I don't drink with kidnappers." "Suit yourself," he repeated, downing the shot in one go. He slammed the glass down. "Okay, Mia Collins, let's lay the cards on the table. You know about the Vittoria Ledger. You know about the sedan. What else? I know about the shipment coming in next Tuesday at the docks. Container 404, Mia said, watching his reaction closely. Alessandro's eyes narrowed. That was top-secret intel. Only his inner circle knew about the shipment of unregistered firearms coming from Eastern Europe. You have a rat in my organization, Alessandro deduced. Who is it? I don't have a rat. I have my father's journals. He documented everything. He predicted your father's moves years in advance. He knew how the Valentis think. You're predictable. Predictable. Alessandro stepped closer, the dangerous glint returning to his eyes. You think I'm predictable? You're a thug in a suit. Mia said, her voice shaking slightly, but her chin held high. You use fear to get what you want. It's boring. Alessandro moved faster than she expected. He closed the distance, trapping her against the heavy bookshelves. He placed his hands on the shelves on either side of her head, boxing her in. He was close. Too close. She could feel the heat radiating from his chest. She could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. If I were just a thug, Alessandro whispered, his voice rough, you would be dead already. Rocco would have put a bullet in your head in the alley behind the diner. But you're here, drinking my air. Why? Mia's breath hitched. Because you're afraid of the information. No, Alessandro said, leaning in until his nose brushed hers. Because you intrigue me. You're the first person in 5 years who has looked at me with something other than fear or greed. You look at me with hate. It's refreshing. Mia felt a confusing surge of adrenaline. This man was a monster. He was the son of the man who ruined her life. But standing this close to him, feeling the raw power he exuded, was intoxicating. You're sick, she breathed. I'm a Valenti, he countered. Same thing. He reached out his hand, grazing her cheek. His thumb traced her lower lip. Mia forgot to breathe. Tell me, Mia, he murmured, his gaze dropping to her lips. If I kiss you, will you bite me? Try it and find out, she challenged, though her voice lacked the conviction it had in the diner. The air in the room was thick with tension. It was a wire pulled so tight it was about to snap. Alessandro leaned in, closing the gap. Bang! The door to the library was kicked open. Alessandro spun around, placing himself in front of Mia, instantly a gun appearing in his hand as if by magic. It was Rocco. But Rocco looked pale. He was holding a phone. Boss, you need to take this, Rocco stammered. I'm busy, Alessandro roared, keeping the gun pointed at the door. It's your father, Rocco said. The Don. He knows she's here. Alessandro went still. He lowered the gun slowly. He looked back at Mia, his expression unreadable. How does he know? Alessandro asked quietly. He says he's been tracking her for weeks. He says she led you right into a trap. Alessandro turned to Mia. The softness was gone. The curiosity was gone. The cold espresso eyes were back. Is that true? He demanded. Did you lead me here? Is this part of a plan? Mia looked confused. No, I told you I came alone. Alessandro snatched the phone from Rocco. Father. A rasping, wheezing voice came through the speaker loud enough for Mia to hear. Alessandro, you foolish boy, you brought the rat into the pantry. She isn't just the accountant's daughter. She's working with the Russians. Kill her. Now. Alessandro looked at Mia. The gun in his hand felt heavy. I'm not, Mia screamed. I swear I hate the Russians as much as I hate you. He's lying. He wants me dead because I know the truth about him. Not you. Do it, Alessandro, the old Don commanded. Show me you are ready to lead. Put a bullet in her heart. Alessandro looked at the woman trembling against the bookshelf. He looked at the gun. He looked at Rocco, who was waiting for the order. He raised the gun. He aimed it right at Mia's chest. Mia squeezed her eyes shut. This is it, she thought. I failed. Click. The sound of the safety being disengaged echoed in the silent room. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space of the library. Mia screamed, flinching away, expecting the burning end of a bullet tearing through her chest. But the pain never came. Instead, the expensive smartphone in Rocco's hand exploded into a shower of plastic and glass shards. Alessandro hadn't shot her. He had shot the phone. Rocco stared at his empty, stinging hand, then up at his boss, his mouth agape. Boss, what the hell? My father is losing his touch. Alessandro said, his voice terrifyingly calm as he kept the smoking gun trained on Rocco. He's sloppy. He called on an unsecured line. He demanded a hit inside a safe house without verifying the target. That's not the Don I know. That's a desperate old man covering his tracks. He gave an order, Alessandro. Rocco said, his loyalty wavering between the father and the son. If you don't do it, he sends the cleaners. You know the protocol. I know the protocol better than you, Alessandro snapped. He moved to Mia, grabbing her arm. Get up. We're leaving. Leaving? Mia stammered, her ears still ringing. Why didn't you kill me? Because you were right, Alessandro said, his eyes scanning the room for exits. If he wants you dead this badly, it's not because you're a spy. It's because you have the truth, and my father has been lying to me for 20 years. He dragged her toward the French doors leading to the terrace. Rocco! Alessandro barked over his shoulder. You have two choices. You stay here, and tell the cleaning crew I went crazy and kidnapped the girl, or you come with us and die fighting a war you didn't start. Rocco looked at the shattered remains of the phone, then at the man he had served since they were teenagers. He pulled his own gun, checked the chamber, and sighed. I always hated the cleaning crew. They leave a mess, Rocco grunted. I'm with you, boss. Good. To the garage. Take the Aston Martin. It's faster than the SUV. They sprinted through the hallway. The house, usually a fortress of silence, now felt like a tomb waiting to be sealed. As they reached the garage, the perimeter alarms started blaring. A high-pitched wail that signaled a breach. They're already here, Alessandro cursed. He didn't wait for confirmation. He sent the hit squad before he even made the call. The garage door groaned open. Tires screeched on the concrete as 3 black sedans drifted into the driveway, blocking the exit. Men in tactical gear poured out, suppressed rifles raised. Get down! Alessandro shoved Mia behind a concrete pillar just as the air filled with the thwip, thwip, thwip of suppressed gunfire. Bullets chipped away at the stone, sending dust into their eyes. Mia was hyperventilating. This wasn't a movie. This was real. The smell of cordite, the sound of lead hitting metal, the shouts of men who wanted to kill her. Can you shoot? Alessandro asked, pressing a spare magazine into her hand. I'm a waitress, she yelled over the noise. You're a Valenti target now. Upgrade your skill set. He handed her a snub-nosed revolver from his ankle holster. Point and squeeze. Don't hit me or Rocco. Alessandro popped out from behind the pillar, firing with lethal precision. 2 of the attackers dropped. Rocco was providing covering fire from behind the hood of the Aston Martin. "The car is blocked," Rocco yelled. "We can't drive out." Alessandro looked around. The garage had a service exit, a heavy steel door leading to the old storm drains. It was a desperate, filthy route, but it was the only one. "The drains," Alessandro signaled. They made a break for it. Mia ran harder than she had ever run in her life. She could hear the bullets whizzing past her ears like angry hornets. She fired blindly behind her once, twice. She didn't know if she hit anything, but it made the attackers duck. They crashed through the service door, Alessandro slamming the deadbolt home and shooting the locking mechanism to fuse it shut. They were in the dark now. The smell of damp earth and sewage was overwhelming. "Keep moving," Alessandro ordered, his voice echoing in the tunnel. He took her hand. His grip was warm, solid. In the chaos, it was the only thing grounding her. "Where does this go?" Mia gasped, stumbling over wet stones. "The marina," Alessandro said. "I keep a boat there, off the books. My father doesn't know about it because I bought it under a shell company he thinks went bankrupt in 2005. They ran for what felt like miles. Mia's lungs burned. Her legs felt like lead. But she didn't stop. She couldn't. When they finally emerged into the cool night air, the marina was quiet. The fog had rolled in, obscuring the moon. Alessandro led them to a sleek, unassuming fishing trawler docked at the end of the pier. It looked rusty on the outside, but when he keyed the ignition, the engines purred with the sound of high-performance, military-grade modification. Rocco cast off the lines. As they drifted away from the dock, Mia collapsed onto the deck, staring back at the city skyline. Somewhere back there in the hills, the safe house was likely burning. Alessandro came out of the cabin. He handed her a bottle of water. He looked tired. The invincible Don looked human for the first time. "You saved me," Mia whispered. "I saved myself," Alessandro corrected, looking out at the dark water. "My father ordered a hit on his own son. That breaks the code. The Omerta is dead." He looked down at her. "Now tell me everything. What is in the ledger that is worth killing your own flesh and blood for?" Mia took a sip of water. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "It's not just about money, Alessandro. It's about 1998, the year your mother died." Alessandro froze. "My mother died of cancer. Everyone knows that." "No," Mia said softly. "She didn't. She was going to leave him. She was going to the feds. She was the original informant. My father was helping her cook the books to get her out safely." Alessandro dropped to his knees, grabbing her shoulders. "You're lying!" "The blue sedan," Mia said, tears welling in her eyes. "It wasn't my father's car. It was hers. That's where he put her." Alessandro stared at her, his face a mask of shattered reality. The boat cut through the waves, carrying them into the darkness, but the real storm was just beginning inside the young Don's heart. The boat ride lasted 3 hours. They docked at a private island off the coast of Washington State, a place called Isola di Vetro, Glass Island. It was a modern architectural marvel, made almost entirely of glass and steel, perched on a cliff overlooking the turbulent Pacific. This was Alessandro's true sanctuary. No guards, no staff, just silence and the ocean. Rocco stayed on the boat to monitor communications and keep watch. Alessandro and Mia went up to the house. Inside the house was cold. Alessandro turned on the heating system and the fireplace. He poured 2 stiff drinks, brandy this time. Mia stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the waves crash against the rocks below. She had showered and changed into one of Alessandro's oversized dress shirts. It smelled of him sandalwood and expensive tobacco. You have the evidence? Alessandro asked from the couch. He was staring at the fire, swirling the brandy in his glass. I have copies, Mia said, turning to face him. The original ledger is in a safety deposit box in Zurich, but I have the scans on an encrypted drive. Show me. Mia walked over to her discarded wet clothes and pulled a small waterproof flash drive from the pocket. She plugged it into Alessandro's laptop on the coffee table. She opened the file named Project Exit. Alessandro leaned in. He saw scanned handwriting. He recognized it instantly. It was his mother's elegant, looping script. He hadn't seen it in 20 years. He read the entries. August 4th, 1998. Carlo knows. I found the bug in the study. He looks at me differently now, not with love, but with calculation. I have to get Alessandro out. August 10th, 1998. Arthur Mia's father says the funds are ready. We leave on Tuesday. I told Alessandro we are going on a vacation to Disneyland. He is so excited. August 12th, 1998. He stopped the car. He knows. God help us. The last entry was unfinished, a scrawl of ink where the pen had been dropped. Alessandro sat back, his face pale. A single tear escaped his eye, tracking through the grime on his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. He told me she died in the hospital. Alessandro whispered, his voice breaking. I was 8. He held my hand at the funeral. He cried. He said, "We have to be strong for Mama." He stood up suddenly and threw his glass into the fireplace. The alcohol flared up a burst of blue and orange flame. He killed her. Alessandro roared, the rage finally ecloding. He killed her, and he raised me to be just like him. He made me a monster in his own image. He paced the room like a cold animal. He was vibrating with energy, destructive and raw. Mia didn't flinch. She walked up to him and placed a hand on his chest. You are not him. Alessandro looked down at her. His eyes were wild. How can you say that I threatened you? I kidnapped you. I have blood on my hands, Mia. Gallons of it. You are not him, she repeated firmly. He killed to protect his power. You fight to protect... What did he... I don't know anymore. He confessed, his shoulders slumping. He covered her hand with his. I have nothing. My family is a lie. My empire is a graveyard. You have the truth now, Mia said. And you have a choice. The atmosphere shifted. The anger in the room dissipated, replaced by a magnetic pull that had been building since the diner. They were 2 orphans of the same war, standing in a glass house at the edge of the world. Alessandro looked at her, really looked at her. He saw the strength beneath the exhaustion. He saw the little girl who lost her father, growing up to be the woman who would save him. Why didn't you run? He asked softly. In the garage. You could have run into the dark. I told you, Mia whispered, stepping closer. I want justice, and I didn't want to leave you alone with him. Alessandro let out a ragged breath. He cupped her face in his hands. His thumbs brushed away a smudge of dirt on her cheek. You are dangerous, Mia Collins, he murmured. More dangerous than any gun. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, fueled by adrenaline and grief, and a sudden, overwhelming need to feel something other than betrayal. Mia kissed him back with equal force, her hands tangling in his hair. It was a clash of 2 worlds colliding. The waitress and the Don. The victim and the villain. He lifted her up, sitting her on the edge of the heavy oak table. The laptop, the evidence of their tragic past, sat beside them, forgotten for the moment. "I will burn his world down," Alessandro vowed against her lips, "for what he did to them, for what he did to us." Mia corrected him, breathless. "We will burn it down." For the rest of the night, the storm raged outside, battering the glass walls. But inside, they found a temporary peace in each other. It was the calm before the war. Morning came with a steel-grey sky. The romance of the night before had crystallized into a cold, hard resolve. Alessandro stood on the deck, dressed in a fresh tactical suit he kept at the safe house. He was cleaning a semi-automatic rifle. The transformation was complete. The confused sun was gone. The warlord had returned, but this time his target was his own throne. Mia walked out holding 2 mugs of coffee. She wore a black sweater and jeans she found in the closet, likely belonging to one of Alessandro's ex-flings, but she didn't care. "Rocco has updates," Alessandro said without looking up. "My father has declared war. He's put a bounty on my head. $10 million. Open contract. Every hitman from Chicago to Naples is looking for us." "That's a lot of money," Mia said dryly. "I should have turned you in." Alessandro smirked, a genuine one this time. "You missed your chance. Now you're an accomplice. So what's the plan?" "We can't hide," Alessandro said, snapping the rifle back together. "If we hide, they hunt us down eventually. We have to cut the head off the snake." "We go to him. Tonight is the Valenti Charity Gala," Alessandro said. "It's the biggest event of the year. The governor, the police commissioner, the judges, everyone will be there. My father uses it to launder money and cement his political alliances." "He'll be surrounded by hundreds of guards," Mia pointed out. "Exactly. He'll feel safe. He won't expect me to walk through the front door." "You're not walking through the front door, are you?" "No." Alessandro's eyes glittered. "We're walking through the vault." The plan was insane. It relied on Rocco's knowledge of the security grid and Mia's knowledge of the financial loopholes. The Valenti estate, where the gala was held, had a panic room in the basement. It doubled as a vault. Alessandro knew his father kept the hard copies of his current blackmail material there. If they could get the physical proof of the judge's payoffs and the current drug routes combined with the 1998 ledger, they could destroy him publicly. They could broadcast the evidence on the screens in the ballroom. They arrived at the estate in a delivery van Rocco had hijacked. Alessandro and Rocco were dressed as catering staff. Mia was dressed as a high-end escort, a disguise that allowed her to blend into the crowd of corrupt elites. "Stay close to the senator," Alessandro whispered into his earpiece as he adjusted his bow tie. He was carrying a tray of champagne. "He's our ticket past the first checkpoint." Mia, wearing a stunning red dress that Rocco had miraculously procured, walked arm in arm with a bewildered elderly senator she had charmed at the entrance. She slipped past the metal detectors. The ballroom was a sea of diamonds and hypocrisy. At the head table sat Don Carlo Valenti. He looked frail. He was in a wheelchair, breathing with the help of an oxygen tank. It was a disguise. Alessandro knew the old man was as strong as an ox. The frailty was an act to garner sympathy and avoid prosecution. Mia felt a chill run down her spine as she looked at him, the man who killed her father. "I'm in position," Mia whispered into her brooch microphone. "I'm near the AV control room." "Copy," Alessandro replied. "Rocco and I are at the service elevator, heading down to the vault." The heist was going smoothly. Too smoothly. Alessandro and Rocco incapacitated the 2 guards at the vault entrance with silencers foot. They dragged the bodies into a closet. Alessandro used his thumbprint to open the first door. His father hadn't revoked his biometric access yet, arrogance or an oversight. They entered the antechamber. Alessandro began drilling into the physical lock of the inner vault. Meanwhile, upstairs, Mia was sweating. She had to upload the files to the gala's projector system. She slipped into the empty AV room. She plugged in the drive. Upload 10%? 20%. Suddenly, the door to the AV room opened. Mia froze. It wasn't a guard. It was Don Carlo himself. He wasn't in his wheelchair. He was standing holding a cane with a golden lion's head handle. He was flanked by 4 massive bodyguards. "Hello, my dear." Don Carlo smiled. It was a reptilian smile. "Did you really think I didn't see my own son entering the building I taught him how to sneak? I know his footsteps." Mia backed up against the mixing desk. "You knew." "I knew everything," Carlo wheezed. "I let you get this far. It makes the victory sweeter." He tapped his cane on the floor. "Cut the feed." One of the guards smashed the laptop. The upload failed at 85%. "Bring her," Carlo ordered. "Let's go down to the vault. I want Alessandro to see you die before I kill him." Down in the vault, the heavy steel door swung open. Alessandro smiled. "We're in." He stepped inside, ready to grab the files. But the vault was empty. No shelves, no money, no files, just a single chair in the center of the room. And on the chair sat a tablet displaying a live video feed. It was Mia held at gunpoint by his father's men in the ballroom kitchen. Alessandro's blood ran cold. "It's a trap," Rocco whispered, raising his gun. Suddenly, the steel door they had just walked through slammed shut behind them. The locks engaged with a heavy final thud. Gas began to hiss from the vents in the ceiling. Alessandro ran to the door, pounding on it. It was reinforced titanium. Indestructible. The tablet screen flickered to life. Don Carlo's face appeared. "You disappointed me, Alessandro." The Don's voice echoed in the sealed vault. "You chose a waitress over your blood. Now you can watch her die while you suffocate. A poetic end, don't you think?" Alessandro watched the screen. He saw Mia struggling. He saw a guard press a gun to her temple. He was trapped in a steel box miles beneath the earth, running out of air. And the woman he loved was about to be executed on live video. He looked at Rocco. Rocco was coughing, the gas already taking effect. "We have maybe 3 minutes," Alessandro coughed, covering his mouth with his sleeve. "Rocco the C4. "Boss?" Rocco's eyes widened. "In here, it'll kill us. The shock wave. We're dead anyway," Alessandro said, his eyes fixed on the image of Mia. "If we blow the door, we might survive. If we don't, we die. Give me the charge." Rocco handed him the brick of plastic explosive. Alessandro slapped it onto the hinges of the vault door. It was a suicide move. The pressure in such a small room would rupture their eardrums, maybe their lungs. "Cover your ears and open your mouth," Alessandro yelled. He looked at the tablet one last time. "Hold on, Mia." He pressed the detonator. Boom! The world turned white. The explosion didn't sound like a noise. It felt like a physical blow to the soul. Down in the basement, the reinforced titanium door didn't just open. It was ripped from its hinges, twisting like a piece of wet cardboard. The shockwave slammed Alessandro and Rocco against the back wall of the vault. The air was instantly sucked out of the room, replaced by a searing heat and the choking dust of pulverized concrete. For a minute there was only darkness and the high-pitched screaming of damaged eardrums. Alessandro coughed, expelling grey dust from his lungs. His vision was swimming. He couldn't hear anything, but he could feel the vibration of the building settling above them. He touched his forehead. His hand came away wet with blood. "Rocco," he croaked. The sound was muffled, as if he were speaking underwater. Rocco was slumped in the corner, a piece of debris embedded in his shoulder. He groaned, giving a weak thumbs up. He was alive. Alessandro forced himself to stand. His ribs screamed in protest, likely cracked, but the image of Mia on that tablet screen burned in his mind, overriding the pain. She has minutes, he told himself. Maybe seconds. He stumbled through the smoking hole where the door used to be. The hallway outside was a wreck. The guards who had trapped them were gone, buried under rubble, or fled. Alessandro found a discarded automatic pistol on the floor. He checked the clip. Full. He didn't run. He couldn't. He walked with the slow, terrifying purpose of a dead man walking. He moved through the service corridors, climbing the stairs toward the ballroom. With every step, he shed the identity of the Valenti Don. He was no longer a king protecting a kingdom. He was a man burning it to the ground to save the only thing that mattered. Upstairs, the gala had turned into a scene of controlled chaos. The floor had shuddered violently when the bomb went off, causing crystal chandeliers to sway dangerously and champagne towers to shatter. "Earthquake!" someone had screamed. But Don Carlo Valenti remained calm. He stood on the raised stage at the front of the ballroom, gripping his cane with white-knuckled intensity. He knew what that tremor was. It was the sound of his problems being buried. He signaled to his guards. They dragged Mia out from the wings. She was bruised, her red dress torn at the shoulder, but her head was high. She looked at the panicked crowd, then at Carlo. "Ladies and gentlemen, please." Carlo's voice boomed over the microphone, regaining control of the room. The corrupt judges, the bribed senators, and the wealthy socialites quieted down, looking to their leader. "A minor gas line issue in the kitchen," Carlo lied smoothly. "It is under control. But before we resume the festivities, we have a small matter of personnel to handle." He gestured to Mia. "This woman," Carlo announced, pointing a shaking finger at her, "is an industrial spy. She attempted to sabotage our charity efforts tonight. She tried to frame this family." Mia struggled against the grip of the two guards holding her arms. "He's lying!" she screamed, her voice raw. "He killed his wife. He killed Arthur Collins. The evidence is in the vault. The vault is destroyed." Carlo whispered to her off mic, a cruel smile twisting his lips. "And my son is inside it. You failed." Mia's knees buckled. "Alessandro." "No," she whimpered. The fight drained out of her. If Alessandro was dead, nothing mattered. The ledger, the justice, the revenge, it all turned to ash. "Take her out the back," Carlo ordered the guards loud enough for the front row to hear. "Call the police. Have her arrested for trespassing." He leaned in closer, whispering only for her. "Take her to the jagged rocks. Make sure she slips." The guards began to drag her away. The crowd murmured, unsure of what was happening, but too afraid of the Valenti influence to intervene. Then the double doors at the back of the ballroom didn't open. They were kicked open. A hush fell over the room. Alessandro stood in the doorway. He looked like a spectre rising from hell. His tuxedo was shredded, covered in white dust and dark blood. His face was a mask of red and grey, but his eyes, those cold espresso eyes, were locked onto his father. "Alessandro." Carlo gasped, his face draining of color. He took a step back, hitting the podium. "It's impossible." Alessandro walked down the center aisle. The crowd parted for him like the Red Sea, terrified by the sheer violence radiating off him. "Let her go," Alessandro said. His voice wasn't loud, but in the silent room, it carried like a thunderclap. The guards holding Mia hesitated. They looked at the battered man walking toward them, then at the old man on the stage. "Kill him," Carlo shrieked, his composure shattering. "He's gone mad. He's trying to kill me. Shoot him." The 4 bodyguards on stage raised their weapons. "No," Mia screamed, finding her strength again. She bit the hand of the guard, holding her, stomping on his instep with her heel. He yelped and let go. Mia didn't run for the exit. She ran for the AV table. The laptop was smashed, yes, but the system was still connected to the cloud server. The upload had stopped at 85%. Come on," she prayed, her fingers flying over the mixing console. She didn't need the laptop. She just needed to unmute the audio channel she had queued up before they caught her. Alessandro kept walking. The guards opened fire. Bang bang, Alessandro didn't flinch. He raised his own weapon and fired 2 precise shots. 2 guards dropped. He was a machine, moving through the pain, fueled by a lifetime of lies. He reached the steps of the stage. He was out of ammo. He threw the gun aside and climbed the stairs. The remaining 2 guards charged him. Alessandro caught the first one's punch, twisting his arm with a sickening crunch, and used him as a human shield against the other. He tossed them aside like rag dolls. He stood before his father. Don Carlo was trembling. He raised his cane to strike, but Alessandro caught it in mid-air. With a simple twist, he ripped the cane from the old man's grip and snapped it over his knee. "It's over, father," Alessandro said. "You ungrateful wretch," Carlo spat. "I gave you everything. I built this city for you." "You built a cage," Alessandro corrected, "and you filled it with ghosts." Suddenly a voice filled the ballroom. A recorded voice amplified by the massive concert speakers. It was the audio file Mia had managed to trigger. It wasn't the ledger. It was the recording from the library, from the night before. "Alessandro, you foolish boy. Kill her. Now. Do it, Alessandro. Show me you are ready to lead. Put a bullet in her heart." Then another clip played. An older one. Digitalized from the files Mia's father had kept. A phone recording from 1998. "Arthur, take care of the boy. I have to put Vittoria in the ground. She talks too much. The blue sedan is ready." The room went deathly silent. The senator dropped his champagne glass. The police commissioner, who had been sipping scotch in the VIP booth, slowly set his glass down. The admission was there. Public. Undeniable. Murder. Conspiracy. Carlo looked around the room. He saw the shift in their eyes. The fear was gone, replaced by judgment. The sharks smelled blood in the water, and this time the blood was his. "Turn it off!" Carlo screamed at the sound booth. "It's a fake! It's AI! It's a lie!" But nobody moved. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Alessandro looked at his father with pity. "The blue sedan was dredged up from the lake this morning, father. I sent Rocco's cousins to find it while we were on the boat. They found the remains. DNA doesn't lie." Carlo slumped. The air went out of him. He looked old, small, and pathetic. "I did it for the family," he whispered. "No," Alessandro said, turning his back on him. "You did it for yourself." Alessandro walked over to Mia, who was standing by the soundboard, tears streaming down her face. He didn't care about the blood or the dust or the police storming the entrance. He wrapped his arms around her. burying his face in her neck. She held him up, supporting his weight. "We did it," she sobbed. "It's done," he murmured. As the police handcuffed Don Carlo Valenti and wheeled him out of his own gala, the flashbulbs of the press captured the image of the fallen king. But the image that would captivate the world was the one in the center of the room, the Mafia prince and the waitress holding each other amidst the ruins of an empire, finally free. 6 months later, the bell above the door of Sal's 24-hour eats jingled. The diner had been renovated. The floors were clean, the neon sign was fixed, and the smell of stale grease was replaced by the aroma of high-quality Arabica beans. Mia was behind the counter, but she wasn't wearing a uniform. She was looking over the ledger, the legitimate ledger for the business she now owned. The door opened, and a man walked in. He wore a simple leather jacket and jeans. No suit, no bodyguards. The scars on his face had faded, but they added a rugged character to his handsome features. Alessandro. He walked to the counter and sat on a stool. "Coffee?" Mia asked, smiling. "Only if it's fresh," he replied, a playful glint in his eyes. "Brewed it myself." She poured him a cup. "How did it go?" "The lawyers say the asset liquidation is complete," Alessandro said, taking a sip. "The Valenti crime syndicate is officially defunct. The money from the auction of the estate has been donated to the victims' families' fund." "All of it. Every cent," Alessandro said. "I kept enough to buy a small house up the coast, and a boat, a real fishing boat this time." He reached across the counter and took her hand. "But I'm missing a first mate." Mia looked around the diner. It was her life. But looking at Alessandro, she realized her life wasn't about the place anymore. It was about the person. "I think Sal can manage the place without me," Mia said, untying her apron. "He's been looking for a promotion." She tossed the apron onto the counter. "Where are we going?" she asked. Alessandro didn't pull out a stack of cash this time. He pulled out a ring, simple, elegant, with no blood diamonds, just a promise. "Anywhere we want," he said. "No secrets, no shadows, just us." Mia leaned over the counter and kissed him. It tasted like coffee rain and freedom. Outside, the rain washed over Seattle, but for the first time in 20 years, the city felt clean. And that is the incredible end to the story of the Mafia boss and the waitress. From a tense encounter in a diner to bringing down an entire empire, Alessandro and Mia proved that the truth is the most dangerous weapon of all. I hope you enjoyed this roller coaster of drama, romance, and justice. If you loved this story, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. What did you think of Alessandro's redemption? Did Don Carlo get what he deserved? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications. I have another story coming next week about a billionaire who banned his own mother from his wedding. You won't believe the reason why. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.